Prime One Studio announced they're finally going to do it. They're going to make one of the best characters in statue form from one of the best movies of all time. That's right, the T-800 Arnold Schwarzenegger Model 101 from T2 or Terminator 2. And as this started to go along, collectors reached out to Prime One and they're like, are you sure that you can do this and do it right? And Prime One Studios said,
trust me, no problemo.
Then production started, and there was a little bit of controversy with some early pieces, and collectors once again reached out to Prime One Studio, and they said, hey, we're really concerned. And Prime One Studio responded,
chill out, dickwad.
Then collectors get it in hand, and truth be told, there are a lot of issues with a piece that has some great features to it. And it's just disappointing when you spend $2,000 and there's so many issues. So Prime One Studio sees this, and they reach out and they say,
why do you cry?
And collectors respond by saying, I'm not crying, but I won't be doing this either.
I'll be back.
Hey, welcome to the Extreme Channel. Today we're reviewing the deluxe bonus special edition of the 1/3 scale T-800 from Terminator 2, made by Prime One Studio. And as I said in the intro, it has a lot of issues with it. It's very disappointing for a number of reasons. One, there was really high expectations. One of my favorite movies of all time. I remember seeing this in the theater in the 90s with my family. It was such a cool movie, the special effects at the time, stuff that had never been done before, solid storyline to what was also originally an amazing movie. I think Terminator 1 is just as good as Terminator 2. Personally, I loved it in 1984. Highly anticipated. It came out, tons of issues. We're going to cover them all today. And I think the other reason I'm so disappointed is this was a $2,000 statue. We're going to talk more about that in value, but when you're paying that much money, it seems like you don't want to skimp on things. And I kind of joked in the beginning, I buy tons of Prime One Studio statues. I think I've owned well over 150. And I have a few more on order, including the counterpart to this, the T-1000. I will still get it. I don't want to lose my non-refundable deposit. Hopefully they fix some of the issues that came up with this one. And they are still one of the best statue companies in the game, despite the quality going down, despite the shipping prices outrageously high, more high than they should be, and despite the high prices they're charging for statues. So enough of that. We'll get into the specific issues of this. But first I want to talk about the concept, which is probably the strongest part of the statue, why everybody wanted it. You know, we've always wanted a great likeness. I collect an entire wall of 1/3 sci-fi creatures, some horror, but kind of sci-fi. So Terminator, one of my favorite properties. I'm actually putting it right next to this statue right here, also from Prime One Studio, where I thought they did really good on this one. The endoskeleton. But as a spoiler, I actually like that one better than this, which I didn't think I would, but it's mainly due to the issues we're going to talk about. So as we dive into the concept of this, one thing I want to let you know is they had really a few choices. A, do we want to take a direct scene from the movie, or do we want to make it conceptual? And what that means is put a lot of parts from the movie, so it's not from a direct scene, so there's some stuff that doesn't make sense, especially depending on which display option you choose to display. But also some of it, even on the base here. So this is inside the lava factory. You can tell by the grate on the top, but everything surrounding it is almost this future technological aspect that we picture what Skynet would be like, and we even saw that in some of the future movies. They have a nameplate on the front. I absolutely hate nameplates. This isn't removable. I do like that you can't see it as well, and you'll see that more in the close-up video. And then on the base, you see a few things. You see the hook that he lowered himself into the lava pit. You see one of the grenades. There's a few proximity pieces we're going to talk about, and he's wearing his outfit. And as you move up, this was the outfit, obviously, he stole from the biker bar, very similar to what he wore in the first Terminator, 1984 movie. And as you move up, the concept changes depending on which display options, and we'll talk more about that when we get to the display options, because you can actually pose him from specific scenes in the movie, or you can mix them together, which is what I'm going to do. I kind of chose the best parts that I like, and that's what you're looking at right now, I believe. But he's standing there very stoic. It's what we call a museum-style statue, so he's not in the act of any motion, or there's not a lot of dynamic aspect to this. But I like it because it has a little bit of movement, but not much, so it'll pair great with the rest of the line, which is very similar. As I said, I have that endoskeleton. I'm getting the T-1000. So I think the concept is a 4 out of 5. The reason why I don't think it's perfect is it is a little weird that when you mix it together with the display options, it's from different scenes, and a lot of people don't like that, plus the nameplate. Just annoying. If you don't know this is from Terminator 2, you're not going to enjoy it anyway. All right, let's get into the design. Now, this is where I had all the problems, for the most part. It's interesting that Prime One Studio now makes you film your unboxing. in case there's damaged parts. It seems like ever since they started doing that, you have a lot more damaged parts. So I wonder if they're like, you know what, let's do this. Let's lower the bar for our quality. But we're not going to help people unless they film it, knowing a lot of people won't film it, so that way we can save money on quality, and we won't have to do with as many replacement parts. As a content creator, it's annoying for me because I have to film it, but I also want to film different content for you, kind of see the best of the unboxing and assembly, and that's what this is right here. One box, which is really nice for a 1/3 scale statue. Here's a little bit glimpse of the art box. And then it was Blitzway with Prime 1, so there are straps on the foam with 2 layers, one right here and another layer right here. All right, let's talk about the QC issues. Number one, my grate right here, part of it is completely shattered and destroyed. There were dust pieces in the box. You can see the picture right here. It's a small part, but still, again, a $2,000+ purchase. Some other issues as well with the hand holding the pole. Clearly a huge QC issue missed. Another QC issue here on his left arm. Some design obstacles you probably saw during the assembly. His head doesn't sit in flush. Neither of the heads do, but thankfully it's a mixed media shirt, so you can kind of rearrange the collar over that. So that I can forgive a little bit. You know, it's interesting, the grenade pack, to put that on, you actually have to take it apart and then put it back on, which I found a little bit interesting. Again, just a mild annoyance, not anything considerably wrong. The base. These pieces on the end are so cheap. They're so cheap and they're not secured well. They're almost shaking. Now, one of the things we're going to talk about are there's some light up features. The light up feature for the base actually malfunctions. So you use the nameplate to turn it on and it doesn't turn on unless you essentially have to jam something underneath this, because the contact point at the top of the tray where the batteries are, there's some batteries right here. There's a contact on the back of it that's not connecting. So you can either angle it to try and turn it on. Let me try and do it here. Now I can't even get it to go. If you tilt it over and then push it up while you're holding the statue so it doesn't fall, then the light up feature will turn on. It takes 4 AAA batteries, but doesn't really work anyway. And this was not just my statue. So I think I might be able to slip a piece of cardboard or angle something underneath. And as I say that, figure out how ridiculous this is. You pay $2,100 for a piece of statue and you're going to fix it with a piece of cardboard. So huge miss on that light up feature. There's another one that does work we're going to talk about. It took a few minutes, but if I pull the tray the halfway out and then I hold it up like this right here, then you can see the light up feature briefly. I wish I could give you a closer picture, but if I let go of this, it turns off. Yeah, so you have to pull the tray halfway out and then the batteries are exposed. And then you can hold it up and it'll hit the contact point. Good job, Prime 1. All right, so we have the cheap base, the light up feature that doesn't work, the shattered base, the QC issues on his hands, the issue with the head not sitting incorrect. You know what's really interesting too? The base has decent weight. Everything else is really light, especially the switch out pieces. They're using different materials than they used to. They still look fine, but it's something to note. Another thing with design too, and we'll talk a little bit more about it in paint and sculpt, You know, with mixed media, it's really interesting. I feel like I'm dressing this up like a doll. That's one of the reasons I absolutely hated Hot Toys. I don't like doing that. I would prefer fully sculpted. I know some people do like mixed media. And when I say mixed media, I mean this is fabric instead of actually like sculpted polystone that's painted. Because the other issue you have about this is you don't know how long it's going to last. I remember Sideshow's legendary scale Wolf Predator. This right here was a phenomenal piece, and it had this leather on it that deteriorated like crazy. Now, one thing they did right, this is the deluxe. They made 3 versions of this. We'll come back to that. This is the highest end, so it has all the different display options, which there's a lot. Let's check them out and then talk about the different movie scenes they're from. Number 1, his left hand. You can have it where it's torn off. So this is during the lava factory, when he rips his arm off because he's stuck. Or you can have the fully extended arm, which we really only saw this in Miles Dyson's house. And you know, I had it displayed with this arm on there. I didn't like it at all. And I like the fact that you have an additional proximity stand to display either of them. It looks kind of stupid with the torn off one anyway, so I think this is a cool proximity piece to just display with it. One other cool thing about this is it is posable. So these are articulated to an extent. I don't want to do it too much because I'm afraid it's going to break, which is great because it came out of the box completely straight and I thought it looked dumb. But yeah, you can move it a little bit to make it more movie accurate. Speaking of proximity pieces, you have the hook right here that he lowers himself in. They just threw it in and you can put it on the base. I kind of like it. You can put it anywhere you want. You don't have to display it. You actually have an extra grenade. You could remove all the grenades from his sash, but you have an additional one you can put at the base or wherever you want. The right hand, there's 2 display options. One is with the grenade launcher. So he used this, if you remember, quite a bit. It's pretty much starting at Cyberdyne all the way through the end of the movie. And spoiler alert, it's actually what killed the enemy T-1000. Or you can do the stick, which he used very briefly. This metal pole actually is what killed him before he came back to life. Another spoiler. And I believe the T-1000 that Prime 1 Studios is making, there's a display option for his enemy, the T-1000, to be holding that pole. Which that I will probably display. Here, I'm not going to display it, not only because of the big QC issue, but I like the grenade launcher better. And there are a few portrait options. So the first one is he's kind of bruised. He still has his right eye. You can see it right here. Now what's great about this is you can also put his sunglasses on and it looks pretty cool. Although I don't know if that's movie accurate at all. The other portrait, you could do the sunglasses on this, but I never did. His right eye is exposed. And then this also has a light up feature. However, another design issue, to access the light up feature, you actually have to remove the head and then push the button and then put it back on. And remember I told you putting that collar on is a pain in the ass? In theory, if you're a movie purist, you could display the full endoskeleton left arm and you would have to display it with the grenade launcher, because I think by the time he had the stick, he didn't have the arm anymore, or it was pretty close. If you wanted the end movie scene, it's actually kind of this right here with the other portrait though, because his eye and face had been smashed in so much by the T-1000. So technically, the display options I have are incorrect, because by the time he lost his arm, you know what? Now that I think about it, there's actually like a 2-minute scene where this does work, but he didn't have the grenade launcher because he dropped it. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's still all the cool parts of the movie. I just thought of something. He wouldn't have all these grenades. I'd have to take most of them out. He used most of those actually at Cyberdyne and then a few on the way to the lava factory. Now I'm second guessing everything. All right, let's just get to the score. I think the design score for a statue that's $2,100 is a 1 out of 5. I think there are way too many issues. And Prime 1 Studio claiming we have to videotape the unboxing. We have to prove that these high-end collectible statues have issues. Kind of just puts salt on the wound. So shame on you, Prime 1. Let's go to paint and sculpt. This surprised me, especially with a lot of the pictures I'd seen. Check it out. Now with a piece that's primarily mixed media, so clothing or material, fabric, so to say, it's kind of hard to judge paint and sculpt. So I kind of do based off of the quality of the material a little bit. And here it's even more confusing because his is so torn and tattered from battle damage. But let's look at everything. I think the base is really clean when it comes to paint and sculpt. Like I said, there's a lot of design issues with it. Looks like there's even a scratch there that I missed. Yep, there's a scratch there. Awesome. And chalk that up to more design issues. But I love the gleam of it. As we talked about, I hate the nameplate. Glad it's not too prominent though, so I think that was smart with the paint. And you're seeing it a lot more vibrant because of the spotlights that are on it. And even the grill looks like a real grate, very similar to that final scene in the lava factory. And really nice job with the base. The parts that are sculpted with Arnold, let's talk about that first. Starting with the most important is the portraits. Now, I think likeness falls into paint and sculpt because both, obviously the sculpt being the most important, the paint can bring it out. This portrait, the deluxe portrait with the sunglasses, I think is fantastic likeness. But as you remove the sunglasses, let's do that. I think there's a minor downgrade, but it's very, very minimal, maybe a few percentages. Not that there's a objective scale to grade this on. And part of that could be because of the battle damage. Now, what a lot of people have talked about is this blood isn't the best color. I think it's fine. I think it looks okay. It's hard to tell what blood would look like on metal once it's dried. I just know what it looks like on flesh. But so I think they did a nice job with the portrait, this particular one. I'm not a big fan of the other portrait. I think there's a lot of likeness missing for that. And again, it could be just the fact because it's the metal showing. And I remember during the movie, there were a few times when it didn't look like Arnie because of the prosthetic makeup and all of those other functions. So it could be very, very film accurate. I just don't dig this one as much. But I think the likeness just doesn't come across in pictures, and I think this video is showing it really well. That's why I'm spending so much time on it. The other sculpted pieces, of course, are his arms. I think the metallic arm looks great. It's the perfect shine of the metal you'd expect to see. Other than the QC issue we looked at earlier, I do like the blood on this as well, and even the damage to the wound right there. It's a clean cut. I think his hand over here looks great too. Again, it was very much like this in the movie. You can see the bandage coming out. Not bandage, I'm out of it. You can see the endoskeleton armor coming out of it with the blood on top of it. The middle, not so much. I'm not such a big fan of this. Again, I remember it makes him look a little bit bulky, but I think it did in the movie because it was actually a prosthetic that he wore on top of his muscular body. And down here, this looks a little cheap. It looks a little toyish, but the boots look fantastic. That's the other sculpted part. They look really, really nice in my opinion. I mean, they've obviously been through a lot of wear. Then we move to the and then we still have the gun. I think they did a really nice job on the grenade launcher here, and even the grenades on his chest. They seem a little large, but I don't have a grenade launcher anymore. They took it away from me to compare it to see if it's would be real 1/3 scale. Now, I'm not a fan of the mixed media. It looks very cheap. It looks like pleather. It probably is pleather, not real leather. And then the way the holes are, they're different sizes. I think the cops were all using the same size of gun on him. So it looks like they just like randomly started poking at it. And I'm not a fan. Although the jacket, I do appreciate some of the detail, whether it's in the zippers or the pouches. And then the belt looks very, very cheap. It looks very cheap. It looks like a doll's belt for a $2,000 statue. I'm not a fan. So I think there's some hit and misses. I think the sculpt of the actual sculpted parts and the paint is quite well, but the mixed media definitely downgrades it for sure. And here is that extra bust display up close. You know, I think the paint's a 3 out of 5. I like the skin tones they did on him, and I think some of that encompasses the base as well. The sculpt, I actually do give it a 4 out of 5. The likeness looks much better in person, and I'm pleasantly surprised by that. Now, value of this piece is really difficult because it's highly sought after, despite all the issues that it has. So they made a total of 700 of these. 500 are what you see here. There's another 100 that don't have the sunglasses, kind of weird. And those 600 total, they all retailed for $2,100 plus shipping. Or you could save $500, but you wouldn't get the portrait I have displayed, and you wouldn't get this arm over here. And they made 100 of those. You know, T2 is a beloved property. I think in a year or two, it's going to have its 30th anniversary. And despite all the issues, I think this is the best representation of this character. in statue form. I love that it's 1/3 scale, which is 3 times smaller. We actually forgot to measure it during design. So let me measure it now. You got a base that's a little over 12 inches wide. The depth, I think it's the same, yeah. And then Arnold at his tallest is about 30.5 inches. Might be taller with the pole. You can look up exact dimensions on Prime 1 Studios website. But anyway, I think the value is a 3 out of 5. I think I could get my money back. I can fix some of these QC issues. I'm actually sleeping with someone who knows how to repair statues. For those of you that are new to the channel, my wife paints statues and stuff. Check out one of these videos right here. I don't know why I was whispering when I said that. Does this have the X factor? Is it a 5 out of 5 statue? You know, I wish it was. It's not. It's a 4 out of 5. I still like it a lot. I'm disappointed. If this was around $1,400, $1,500 and I had all those QC issues, I'd be a little more forgiving. But man, $2,100, that is a lot of money for a lot of things gone wrong. So hopefully they get it better with their next piece. You know, they've done really well in the past. And honestly, I probably have $10,000 to $20,000 on future pre-orders with them, from Predator pieces to Terminator pieces. So I really hope so. But I can't wait to see what he looks like in the collection. If you want to see what he looks like next to the endoskeleton, check out the Extreme Channel social media, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. The link for that is in the description below. So let me know in the comments below, am I being a baby? Some of you say yes, and that's okay. I'm happier than you. That pissed some people off too. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Yes, we're still giving away $1,000 statues at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. You have to make sure you're subbed to the channel, you like the video, and then leave a comment. We're going to pick a random comment on a random video and give away those statues. In the meantime, check out some of these other videos and my social media. Talk to you soon. Take care.